everyone and welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Katarina. I make videos about beauty and style, focusing on using what I have and trying to be a more mindful consumer. But also recently I have started filming videos about my journey to become the best version of myself, personal development, that kind of thing. But today's video is going to be my weekly beauty video. I have decided today to share with you all of the products that I have in my collection that are more than 3 years old. And thankfully I don't have too much. It's these products, but I don't know, I feel a little bit weird filming this video. Like, I'm really sad to see some of these products to look like they're barely touched. Filming this video totally made me rethink about my next year's padding projects. I was supposed to do a painted palette with a palette that I'm going to mention today, but I have eyeshadows even older than that palette that I think I need to prioritize. I'm not somebody who thinks makeup is expired right away when we are past the shelf life, but at the same time, when a product is too old, it typically doesn't perform the same and the risks of getting reaction out of the product does increase. However, on a more positive note, all of these products that I have to share with you today fall under 3 categories. They're either cheek products, eyeshadows or lip products. So we don't have any complexion products or any eyeliners, mascara, stuff like that. And please, let's keep this video free of judgment. I know these are super old. Maybe these are so old that some people would not put them to their face anymore. Okay, so we're going to start from 2015. Yes, my very oldest makeup is from 2015. That is when I got into makeup. I started writing a beauty blog. I started watching YouTube videos. Earlier this year, I finally let go of my Too Faced chocolate bar palette. I got that one in 2015 and I did a painted palette with it from January last year to April this year, and after finishing some of the shades and hitting pan on the rest, I decided to let go of that palette. Those eyeshadows are now gone from my collection, but I do still have a few from 2015. And they are these eyeshadows here. I'm going to show you a close-up picture of these. So we do have here some Depotted the Balm eyeshadows. The rectangular eyeshadow pans are from the Meet Matte Nude eyeshadow palette. And honestly, I'm a little bit mad at myself that I don't have enough use on the lighter brown, because this is the most perfect brown for me personally to any golden toned look, because this doesn't pull red. I guess I have just not used it because I have been focusing on other things in my project pans. However, I have gotten decent use out of the dark brown, and that's actually because I do my brows with it nowadays, and that's what I have done my brows with today. These eyeshadows totally have lost some of their pigmentation. Because of that, I feel the darker brown is perfect for my brows. This one requires a little bit building, but because the pigment is not really there anymore, it allows a lot of control to me. But let's talk about the round pans, and these are eyeshadows that make me super sad because these are some of my favorite eyeshadows in my entire collection. These eyeshadows are Depotted from the Balm Shady Lady Special Edition eyeshadow palette, and they are satin finish eyeshadows. Let me show you swatches. Okay, so here you can see. So they are kind of like satin shimmers where there's no glitter. I really don't like glittery eyeshadows on myself too much, and these are just so subtle and so beautiful, and they do still have good pigmentation to it. Unlike these matte eyeshadows, they are a little bit blotchy, but these I don't find that being an issue with them. And actually today I have created my eyeshadow look using a couple of these eyeshadows. For the most part I am wearing the medium shade, the kind of like peachy golden shade. And then on the inner corner and a little bit to the inner part of the lid, I am wearing this lightest shade where I have hit pan on. I think I have been kind of saving these eyeshadows for if I ever get like a nice office job where I need to have a subtle eyeshadow look. This makes me rethink about my next year's panning project, because I don't want to have another year go by without using them. In fact, I am thinking of culling off my Prep My Painted palette and pan those eyeshadows and right away start a project pan where I'm more focused on these eyeshadows. Like, I don't want to have another month go by without using these. But yeah, let's move on to 2016. I do have 3 eyeshadows left from that year. So here we do have 2 Depotted eyeshadows from the Balm Meet Matte Trimony eyeshadow palette. And I find with these, the pigmentation is still better, like they don't go so patchy. Maybe the formula in that palette was also a little bit better and creamier compared to the Meet Matte Nude eyeshadow palette. And then the round eyeshadow here is the Makeup Geek Jester, which has been in my Pantos eyeshadows since May, and I have only 2 uses to this eyeshadow in that project. Let me again show you some swatches. Okay, so here we go. We do have a matte cream. Then this is like a peachy beige. I really do like this one. If I go for a peachy or burnt eyeshadow look, this is a nice crease shade. And then here we do have the Jester from Makeup Geek. As you can see, it is an olive green. Okay, so I will say about the Jester from Makeup Geek that I really need to figure out if it should have a place in my makeup collection or not. It is a beautiful eyeshadow. It belongs into my color palette. I am warm autumn in the seasonal color palette, so colors that suit me are warm and muted, like this one is. So I know it works for me, but the reality is that I don't really do colorful eyeshadow. Then the matte eyeshadows I think are something that I also want to focus on next year. They also pair nicely with these other Tip Balm eyeshadows that I have from 2015. So I totally think these Tip Balm eyeshadows are something that I should focus on next year. I think even if I decide to keep the Jester from Makeup Geek, it's probably going to be a shade that I reach for really rarely, so not necessarily something that I want to put too much focus on when it comes to panning eyeshadow. Okay, let's move on to 2017. From that year I don't have any eyeshadows left, but I do have one cheek product. This is the Essence Pure Nude Highlighter in Be My Highlight. So here you can see that I have actually gotten good use out of it. I have hit the bottom of that highlight, and actually this is the highlighter that I am wearing today. I did put a little bit more on to have a nice glow, but this is just the most beautiful highlighter ever. It's so stunning because it is this soft and gentle glow. I don't like too blinding highlighters anymore. Like I remember I used to have some over highlighters and it just looked like I have foil on my face, but this one is so beautiful. I really do enjoy this, and also this is something that if I want to, I can use this really lightly as a finishing powder to make my skin look less matte. And that's something I might do mainly in winter when it is cooler. In summer my skin tends to pull a little bit oilier. This one I totally want to use up. But I think because it's this kind of baked formula, it's going to take a longer time for me to finish it, but I don't mind. I'm just going to keep using it. Then let's move on to 2018, and we actually do have another cheek product. This is the Too Faced Sweethearts bronzer. I have gotten some good use out of it. I have hit pan or the bottom. As you can see, there are 2 sides to this bronzer, a darker one and a lighter one. In the past I used to just like swirl my brush all over, but I don't do that really anymore now that I have hit pan in the middle. But I'm wearing today the darker side because I want to try and focus on it now that I do have some tan, and then in winter I do wear the lighter side. This bronzer is something that I have always really enjoyed. I do think it is a beautiful bronzer. I have been always prioritizing using up some bronzers that I don't quite love as much as this one, and that just doesn't make any sense for me. Like from now on, when I'm panning something, I want to prioritize the products that I do enjoy the most, because I would rather finish those products that I absolutely love before they expire than finish those products that are just okay and I want them out of my collection. This bronzer, it still works perfectly. I'm going to keep using it, but I do want to probably depot it because this packaging is so annoying. It's so bulky and I don't know, it's kind of tacky. It's probably in a plastic pan, but that is okay. If I depot it, I can put a magnet on the back and put it to my magnetic palette. That way it would be easier for me to pick the product, but also I wouldn't have this really bulky packaging in my makeup bag, because all of my cheek products I do have here in my makeup bag. I have here all of the makeup except palettes and lip products. And then I do still have some eyeshadows left from 2018. So in my magnetic palette, these singles, there are 7 in total, are from eyeshadow palettes that I bought in 2018. So I do have here a couple of eyeshadows from the Juvia's Place, the Nubian palette, the original, the really warm neutrals palette. Then I do have here one eyeshadow from the Pacifica Solar palette, and this eyeshadow is so pretty. These eyeshadows, I'm not going to swatch all of them, but this one I will swatch because it is just so... It's just like pure metal. Then the 4 smaller eyeshadows are from the Colourpop I Think I Love You eyeshadow palette. So these eyeshadows are also old and I want to get more use out of them. But I think before really focusing on these, I should focus on these even older eyeshadows. And then speaking of 2018 eyeshadows, I do have the oldest eyeshadow palette in my collection now. This is the Nubian 2 from Juvia's Place. If you have watched my Pantos eyeshadows videos, you have seen that I'm doing a prep my Pantat palette with this one, where each month I pick 2 eyeshadows to focus on and I'm deciding if I want to keep it. And that is why there is empty pans. Also in 2018 I started for the first time doing a Pantat palette. I panned the BH Cosmetics Curly Bible palette, the original back then. I'm not mad that I panned the palette, but what I am mad about maybe a little bit right now is that for the past 6 years that I have been panning eyeshadows and all of those years that I have done a Pantat palette, I have been so hyper focused on panning and making progress that I have not allowed myself to get good use out of the other makeup and the other eyeshadows in my collection. And because of that, I didn't get good enough use out of this palette when I still loved the color story. Because back in 2018 and 2019 I was still way more into bold eyeshadow looks. I liked to do some creative looks and I like to play with eyeshadow. And now that is not what I want from eyeshadow anymore. So I'm so sad that I didn't allow myself to get more use out of this palette back when it still represented my style more. Right now I feel that at least this is not going to be my main focus Pantat palette next year, because I need to prioritize those older The Balm eyeshadows that I way prefer over this one. Even though I love Juvia's Place formula, nothing wrong with it, but those The Balm eyeshadows, I think they are just so special. Okay, but let's move on to 2019, and that is when I did a beauty replacements only no by year. So I didn't buy any cheek products, eyeshadows, lipsticks, lip glosses, but I did buy a lip liner that I do still have. So this is the Gosh Velvet Touch lip liner in Simply Red. I guess that I thought that I am running low on my red lip liner, and then I decided to buy a backup, and then it still probably took at least a year until I was done with red lip liner that I thought that is close to being done. I have gotten some use out of this lip liner, but the reality is that I don't go for red lipstick super often anymore. It is my favorite makeup look still, a classic red lipstick look. There's no look in my mind that can beat it. In the past it was something that I would do quite often, but now it is for me truly a special occasion makeup look. Sometimes I might do it for filming, but typically we are talking about things like wedding, birthday, date night. This lip liner unfortunately has gone quite dry, and it's actually quite difficult to do my lip line with it. Let me show you when I'm trying to like draw. It's so sheer. This lip liner will need to be decluttered because it's just dry and it doesn't work. Then on Black Friday I'm going to buy a replacement, so now we'll just see if I will keep this one until 10 or not. Okay, so let's move on to the decade we are in right now, 2020. I do have 2 products left, and I actually do have a lip liner also from 2020. This is the BH Cosmetics waterproof lip liner in the shade Earth, and this one actually still works great. Let me show you. There is a swatch of it, and that is like really creamy. The product comes out beautifully without having to press too hard. This lip liner I didn't use too much during the past few years, just because I have been prioritizing some older lip liners in my project pans. But now I only do have 2 nude lip liners. I do have this, and this is kind of like a peachy pinky nude, and then I do have a more brown nude. Now I just use this organically, and we'll see how long it's going to last, but I'm pretty sure that I can go through it organically before it totally dries up. And then we do have the last cheek product to talk about. This is the Benegos Natural Fresh Bronzing Duo, and this one I got from the Pip box. That's the last time that I have gotten any subscription boxes. It was in 2020. I got the Pip box for about 6 months and then I got their advent calendar. So this is a combination of a bronzer and a blush, but I nowadays typically only use it as a blush. Last spring I forced myself to use it as a bronzer to hit pan, and it was like so stupid because it was so orangey, and I don't want to do that anymore. Force myself to wear something that I don't love. But I do think this is a really beautiful blush. I'm actually wearing it today. I'm wearing kind of like a mix of these two shades. For the most part it is the brown, but then there's a little bit of that rosy blush shade also in the mix. But I am considering decluttering this one because this is really matte, and I just feel my blush preference these days is a little bit more satiny or glowy finish, because I feel matte can look so dull on my skin. And then we are moving to 2021. In general, I didn't buy too much makeup that year. In the beginning of the year, I remember I bought a couple of eyeshadow palettes. I bought the Lime Crime Venus XL2 and then I bought the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde, but none of those palettes ended up being color stories that I really loved, so I actually ended up giving those palettes to my sister. And I also got some other makeup products in the beginning of the year, but then in spring that year I got pregnant with my daughter and I really lost interest in buying makeup altogether. Because of that, there's only a couple of products to share with you today. So I do have one single eyeshadow. This is the newest single eyeshadow that I have, and I'm so sad I have not used it more. This is the Nabla Caramel, and this is like a mustardy brown. So here you can see it. It is a mid-toned brown with really strong yellow undertone. I definitely want to use this eyeshadow now that we get to fall, because I really do love it. And then we do have one more product to talk about, and it is the lipstick I'm wearing today. This is the Kat Von D liquid lipstick in the shade Lolita 2. And as you can see, it is this reddish orangey brown. I will say though, I don't really love liquid lipsticks that much anymore, and maybe this one is slightly dark for me. In general, my preference, even when it comes to darker neutral lipstick, would maybe be a little bit lighter from this. Now that I do have proper tan, I think this is okay, but when I don't have any tan, this is going to be quite harsh for me. I have decided that I am going to focus on this lipstick now this fall and winter. I don't know if I can realistically finish it, but once the spring starts to come closer and I don't anymore want to wear a color like this, at that point I think I'm going to declutter this. Okay, but that was everything for today. Those are the oldest makeup products in my collection. Everything that is 3 years or older, but some of them are closer to a decade old. I actually want to film a similar video to this in a year to compare if I still have a lot of those same products, and I hope that I don't have all of those, and I hope that those that I still have, I have gotten good use out of. But that is everything for today. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give this video a like, and if you're not subscribed already, I would really love it if you do subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and see you on my next one. Bye bye.